Hi everybody, welcome to today's session. We're expecting a few more to join us in the next couple of minutes. So hopefully, as I'm speaking, they'll join. But we'll just start with our introductions. We'll get started, and hopefully we'll have the rest of our participants join us over the next couple of minutes. Just to say from the outset, you'll probably be aware the session is being recorded. So if you do have to jump off, or if there's any connection issues, there will be a recording of this session available afterwards to follow. With that in mind, if anybody doesn't want to be part of the recording, you can feel free to turn off your cameras. At the end, we will have an opportunity for questions. Again, if you want to leave the camera off to speak directly to give your question, or if you want to use the chat function on Zoom, you can do that as well. Feel free to add in questions in the chat throughout. They might not be answered at the time, but we'll take them then at the end instead. So I should have introduced myself first. I'm Patrick Flanagan. I'm with the Open Doors and Towards Work programme. I am a white male with short brown hair, and today and a beard. And today I'm wearing a sort of a dark green jumper. So I am delighted to be able to welcome back Professor Tom Cooney from TU Dublin to speak to us today about the Entrepreneurship course for people with disabilities at TUD, which is starting this September and will run for 12 weeks. We've had one of these sessions already earlier in the summer in June, which was really well attended, and had a lot of people interested in the course. So delighted to see again lots of people involved, lots of people here, and lots of people looking to find out more about the course, which is in its third year and has been really successful so far. But look, I won't spend too long talking. Hand over to Professor Cooney, and I hope you all enjoy today's session.
Thank you very much, Patrick, and delighted to be here again. I'm also conscious of the fact that our ladies are playing at 1 o'clock, and people might want to get to see that game. So we'll be finished for 1 o'clock to ensure everyone can get in front of a TV screen and support our wonderful women's football team. My name is Tom Cooney, white male rather, with no hair, and I should have dressed more appropriately and worn green given the day that's in it, but I'm in blue. So I'm program director for the course Entrepreneurship for People with Disability, and it was established in 2021 with a pilot program, and due to its success, we received funding from AIB to run it for another 3 years. So it's been a joint initiative between Open Doors, AIB, and ourselves, TU Dublin, since that time. Each of the occasions it's been run there's been about 6 startups come from it. That would be the intention. Not all have started subsequently, or some have delayed that decision. But the numbers are, we would have between 35 and 40 applicants. We take a maximum of 20 participants, and that's due to resourcing, which I'll explain shortly. And from that, we get, as I say, about 5 or 6 startups. It's important to make clear at the beginning that it is not our expectation that we have 20 out of 20 startups. That's not the purpose of the course. The purpose of the course is to give people who have a business idea but have not already started their business the opportunity to evaluate the viability of their business idea. And if at the end of that process, they believe that it's not viable, that there's no there's not enough money to be made from it, then that's the outcome. Indeed, we will recommend to people that they would not go ahead with the business if we think it's not viable. Now, it's still the choice of the individual to decide whether to start the business or not, but we would be honest in our feedback in terms of what we think is the viability of the business idea. So we offer a supportive and positive environment, but also a very honest one. We don't shy away from the challenges that people with disability face when starting their own business. We address issues like the welfare support trap, which is probably the single biggest barrier to people starting their own business from within the community. So, you know, it's an honest conversation, okay? But we do offer a supportive environment, and so far it's been really successful. Okay, I'm going to share with you a screen so that I can give you some PowerPoints and talk you through the course. So here we go. So here's the screen. And you know, we refer to it as self-employment, but sometimes people think that entrepreneurship is beyond me, but self-employment seems to be a more accessible word. And but basically, we're talking the same thing. We're talking about setting up a business for the purposes of employing yourself. And here's a photograph of some of the participants from last year's course, pictured with Minister Anne Rabbitte, and who's in the front row. And that was taken at the pitching event held at AIB headquarters at the end of the course. There we go, that's better. And then this is some background. Okay, on the 2016 census, there are 643,131 people in Ireland who self-identify as having a disability. That's 13.5% of the population. Recently, I read that in the forthcoming statistics for the 2022 census, that the proportion of people with disability will be 14% of the population. So that's a significant population size. And with regard to self-employment, is generally being ignored because there are no supports, no tailored supports for people with disabilities in this country. We also know that Ireland has actually it has the lowest rate of employment for people with disability in the European Union. A report earlier this year from the European Disability Forum highlighted that Ireland is extraordinarily poor in terms of employment rates and in terms of labour market activation for people with disabilities. Our research has also highlighted that people with disabilities are more likely to have poor levels of education, more likely to experience poverty and social exclusion. And all of those issues contribute to the difficulties, the additional and distinctive difficulties that people with disability face when starting their own business. Actually, another point that's not mentioned there is that the rates of pay for people with disabilities is also quite low, particularly against people without disability. And therefore, the ability to save money to start the business is quite difficult for people with disability. However, I did contact the Central Statistics Office a couple of years back to find out how many people with disability are self-employed. And the information provided was that there are 17,654 people who are self-employed and have employees, while there are 34,461 people with disability who are self-employed and have no employees. So there are quite a substantial number of people who have started their own business, who have a disability. So the pathway is relatively well worn. It should be noted that while over 50,000 people with disability are self-employed, that also is one of the lowest rates in the European Union for self-employment amongst people with disability. So why do people with disability wish to start their own business? For some, it's a case of overcoming their disability, and quite a lot of entrepreneurs with disabilities with whom we speak to don't want to be identified as an entrepreneur with a disability, but simply want to be identified as an entrepreneur. And that, that, I suppose, classification is something that they want to ignore and simply just get on with life and get on with running their business. A second reason is that people start their own business because they can't get a job. And that would be a very strong push motivation for people with disability starting their own business. Indeed, our research shows us that it would be, the highest percentage of people start a business for that very reason. For others, they want to increase their income because the rate of pay that they're receiving in their current job is quite low, and they believe they can make more money by starting their own business. For others, it's about flexibility in working loads and in working hours. Now, this is where we believe there's a particular opportunity in the current environment, because with the growth of remote working, with the growth in and improvements in assistive technology, working from home and building your own business or creating your own business that you can deliver from home has never been more possible. And for some people, that flexibility in terms of hospital appointments, in terms of the nature of their health, in terms of working the hours that best suits them and their needs, is one of the most powerful motivations for starting a business. For others, it's about rebuilding self-esteem. And interestingly, we've run surveys at the end of each course, and almost to a person, they talk about, even if they don't start their own business, they feel more prepared to re-enter the job market. They feel that their sense of empowerment, their sense of self-esteem is much stronger than prior to taking the course. And therefore, the chance of them getting a job are now much higher. It might also suit people and accommodate them in terms of traveling to work, that working from home cuts out the need for travel. It cuts out the difficulties people might experience in terms of accessibility to a workplace. And instead, they can build a work environment that suits their mobility needs. And finally, people start their own business because of discrimination in the workforce, which many in the community experience. But while those are the positives to self-employment and starting a business, here are some of the challenges that people with disability face. First of all, there's the low levels of employment and managerial experience. Because of that, it means that people with disability are are less likely to have industrial experience when starting their own business. And that would be a strong negative, because having prior industry experience, and particularly prior managerial experience, means that it's more likely any person will start a successful business. So yeah, that's one. Difficulties with mobility and accessibility. So getting out, meeting customers, networking, attending events where, like chambers of commerce meeting or other events, may be more difficult for people with disability, and therefore the opportunity to, say, network and meet customers is another disadvantage. Because people have low rates of employment, because people have low rates of pay, because people with disabilities have additional costs, it means that their credit rating is also likely to be poor. And that means they're going to have difficulties in securing startup capital. As previously mentioned, the biggest barrier by some distance is the fear of losing regular benefit income, the welfare benefit trap. And that's not just a phenomenon in Ireland, it's also a worldwide phenomenon. Because people have certain income when they receive regular welfare supports, and then you're giving that up for uncertain income. So things like maybe housing allowance, or medical card, other issues like that become endangered, and therefore people may feel that it's not worth taking the risk, and they will stay in their current situation rather than take that chance. We also have the difficulty of support agencies, and by support agencies I mean enterprise support agencies, but also I would argue disability advocacy organizations do not really understand the distinctive and additional challenges faced by people with disability in starting their own business. In 2 weeks ago, I spoke to the Joint Committee on Disability Matters in Leinster House on this very topic, highlighting to politicians the challenges that people with disability face in starting their own business, and the lack of support and the lack of understanding that policymakers and enterprise support agencies have for the community. And then finally, as I said, there's a lack of access to appropriate training and support. We are told that people with disabilities are eligible for all the enterprise supports that are available. And yes, that is true. But the point that I've highlighted over and over again is that people with disabilities face additional and distinctive challenges, and they can only be catered for by tailored or customized supports. And that's why this program was started. So this is the structure to the program. It is a 12-week program. It starts on Wednesday, September 20th. The class is online from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. So 1100 to 1300 every Wednesday beginning on September 20th. And basically we follow the format of a business model canvas. And we use an online tool called SemVenture Validate. And everyone, even though it costs, I should mention that the course is free because it's sponsored by AIB. So your registration fees are paid. And also the license fees for the online tools that we use are also paid. We use an online tool called SemVenture Validate. And each week you are asked to complete a particular section of the online tool. And so on week one, we just make the introductions. But then on week 2, we began with the idea generation and evaluation. And you go into the online tool, you answer a series of questions in your own time, in your own space, okay? And by the following class, you will have completed that section. And that's how we work each week. Each week, we go through the section in class, we give you a piece of work to do, and in the week that follows, you will complete that work. There are also a number of assignments that you have to do if you want to get academic credits for taking the course. And these are presented on need to be presented on weeks 4, 8, and 12. So there's 3 assignments that need to be submitted, but all of the assignments are work that you complete on SEMventure Validate anyway. We also use an online tool called Do the Financials, and this helps you to develop a set of financial projections that you can use when going to the bank or other funders when you're looking for money. The Disability Federation of Ireland have been wonderful supporters to us in terms of promoting the course. And then we've also got each week a guest entrepreneur and a guest expert. So each week we have 2 guest speakers. And the way the class works is that from 11 to 12, we do course content. And we talk through the information we want to talk through on, for that week. We answer any questions regarding the previous week's work. And then at 12 o'clock, we have guest entrepreneur. And every guest entrepreneur that we feature is somebody who started their own business and has a disability. And they talk about their experiences as an entrepreneur with a disability, the challenges they faced, how they overcame them, what they learned from their experiences, what advice they would give to you as potential entrepreneurs. We've got wonderful people such as Mark Pollock and Sean Gallagher and other well-known names speaking to the class. The range of disabilities they would experience will be quite varied, just as the range of disabilities that participants experience are hugely varied. So we don't we don't have a bias towards any specific grouping of disabilities. It's open to everyone who self-identifies as having a disability, and the nature of that disability is irrelevant. From 12:30 to 1 o'clock, we then have a guest expert, and that's somebody who's an expert in a specific area that we feel you need to know more about. So we have, for example, a person from the Department of Social Protection who talks to you about what welfare supports you may access or may lose if you start your own business. And come back to the honest conversation I mentioned earlier. Like, that's very real. That's quite open. And we have someone from the local enterprise office telling us about their offerings, from the local development companies telling us about what the supports they can offer. We have someone from the bank telling us about applying for a bank loan. We have a legal expert telling us about how to start up your own business from a legal point of view. So what forms need to be completed. So we've all of these experts talking to you on a week-by-week basis, adding further information and insights that you need to know in terms of starting your own business. And then in addition to all of that, every course participant gets their own business mentor. The business mentors are provided by the local enterprise offices. Okay, there's one in every city and county. And your local enterprise office will provide you with a business mentor, and they will meet with you once a month online to work with you in developing your business idea and your business plan. So as you can see, there's a lot of resourcing goes into supporting each participant throughout the course. And that's why we limit it to just 20 people. Let me explain what's happened on there's an example of the business model canvas. So that's the structure to what you will be completing on a week-by-week basis. So on 1 week, you'll be looking at customer segment and you'll be filling in that section. The next week, it could be get, keep, grow. Then it will be challenge. So week by week, you'll fill in each of those and we'll help you to fill that in. So what's happened so far? Well, as mentioned earlier, it's an online course, right? And every course is every lecture is recorded. And that allows participants to go back and view the lecture at a time and pace that best suits them. So if somebody misses a class due to ill health, or if they didn't follow any particular class, they can go back and rewatch the lecture in their own time, in their own space, and understand more accurately what it was that was being presented on that particular week. So in previous years, we've had between, say, 38, 34 applications. Again, this year, I know already that we're oversubscribed again this year with applications. So from that, we will be picking 20 participants. As I say, we don't ask you for proof of the nature of your disability. You simply self-identify as having a disability. As mentioned earlier, the nature of disabilities is very varied, and there's no focus on any particular grouping or no exclusion of anyone. It's also a continuing professional development course within TU Dublin. It's at level 6, and you can get 5 ECTS credits if you submit your assignments and pass by getting more than 40% in total. As mentioned earlier, the use of role models, that is successful entrepreneurs with a disability, has been hugely successful because people highlight that having role models whom they can who've provided a pathway to success shows that it can be done. And also the honesty of those presentations and those talks was greatly appreciated by participants on previous courses, because they didn't shy away from saying what was difficult and not difficult. Obviously, you're going to be a student of TU Dublin, and that will mean that you have access to all student services and supports, including the library, but also including the Disability Support Services unit, who are very proactive in terms of helping us. I've already mentioned that the lecture is recorded, and on both occasions previously, we've concluded the course with participants pitching their ideas to a panel of dragons, the Dragon's Den type event where people with funding experience provide feedback to the participants about their business idea. On the 2 previous courses, we've had 6 people at the end of the course saying that they either have started or they will start their own business. And also, as mentioned earlier, it has been highlighted by practically everyone that the course developed their sense of self-esteem, and they felt it boosted their prospects of employment. That's the link to the course which we'll put into the chat room again. And I'm now available to answer any questions that people might have. So I'll stop sharing, and there we are, back again. And Patrick or Jessica, if one of you might be able to input the link to the web page, that would be greatly appreciated. And I'll take any questions that people might have in the meantime. You can either put the questions in the chat room, or you can ask me directly.
Can I ask a question, please?
Sure.
Yeah, thanks for that overview. Appreciate it. So can you I have a fairly good sense of what would be covered over the 12 weeks. Can you give us an idea of, you mentioned 20, then possibly 5. I know it might vary of the startups that would progress our post-course. Could you give us a sense of maybe just 1 or 2 of, you don't have to say the names, of what that looked like? You know, did they hire a few people? Did they get funding? That kind of thing.
Yeah, no, great question. And it's generally tended to be self-employment. I'm just reaching here for a folder where I can go through the ideas, some of the ideas.
That's fair enough. If it's mostly self-employment, I know I've been on a New Frontiers course, for example, and that tend to be, some people went off and got funding and they hired people. I was just wondering I know this program's been running for 3 years, it's the 3rd year, you said. So I was just wondering, was there any examples of companies who weren't down the self-employment model?
Yeah, there was one company, it developed an app around mental health care, and they received €100,000 from from our own incubation center, in fact. And they're still in the process of starting up. It hasn't really happened for them yet, but they secured 100,000 to support that development. There was another person who is involved in film writing and film production. Actually won an award at Galway Film Festival last week.
Cool.
And he started with another person, and they're employing people. But it was it was a team effort before kind of coming into it. And then the rest that would have started would be in the self-employment route. There's been others that have sought to employ people, but the business model wouldn't have been sustainable.
Yeah. No, that's fine. You probably know where I was coming from, because his mother, like say, NDRC's Dog Patch Labs Founders Weekend, they have a certain pot that the successful startups get. This is probably structured different, and rightly so. I just was curious as to see what happened post, the course in the past. But that it's all. I mean, that's self-employment's great too. So it's just as good.
Yeah, and we're open to anyone, right? But as you kind of have already kind of identified, those with the higher growth type ideas or the higher growth potential ideas tend to go to Enterprise Ireland Frontiers Programme or something like that. And it's a different target market that will come to us.
Yeah, well, for me, I've worked with Patrick here, who's been very helpful. So, because of my disability, this was something that was brought to my attention, but it didn't stop me from applying for those other ones as well. So, so I got benefit from the New Frontiers phase one. Anyway, enough about me. Enjoy the match, everyone, as well. So,
thanks, Niall. Thanks for the question.
You.
Appreciate
Thanks
that.
very much. Yeah.
Any other questions, please?
Hi, Tom. Thank you. Thank you for your information. I literally just found out about this program this morning from the County Kildare designated disability officer, I think she's called, Christine. So it's all a little bit new to me. I'm a little bit further down the road in that I'm well into the process of sort of setting up my business, and I'm engaging already with the local enterprise board and applying for microfinance for a startup loan. I suppose my question is, I now get the feeling, am I sort of jumping the gun a little bit? And it really sort of appeals to me what you've spoken about. And should I sort of take the brakes off and apply for this course and just take my time a little bit?
Yeah, it would depend now, or Ronan, sorry, on the level of work that you've done in terms of preparing to get to this stage. If you feel that you have done thorough research and have developed a clear business plan and a clear business model that lends itself to a viable business, or will lead to a viable business, then I would, do you need us, right? But if you're not at that stage, then you do need us and you should apply.
Yes,
because the whole purpose of what we're offering is giving people the opportunity to work their way through a business model canvas, through a business plan in a supported fashion. And at the end of that process, come to a conclusion about the viability of their business idea and whether there is a future for it or not. And you'll have that answer by Christmas.
Yeah, I mean, I would, I've put a lot of work in already, but another couple of months of really precise sort of focus on viability and things like that is not going to, well, it can only be sort of a benefit to what I'm doing. I have a meeting tomorrow with the mentor from the LEO.
Yeah.
So I'll certainly have a conversation with him about this and maybe get his input.
There's a balance here as well, Ronan, in that, like, if we've only 20 places, so each place is valued, right? And if you didn't need it, right, if you were only getting marginal value, would you be better off not taking it, where a person who would get far greater value from it, you could be taking a place from them, right? So that balance between your needs and a place for somebody else would also need to be kind of within your consideration. Now, if you believe that there would be strong benefit to taking the course, then you're welcome to apply. How this is for everyone, right? How we evaluate applications is purely on the business idea. If people have a business idea that's relatively thought through, we don't expect it to be well thought through, but some thought has gone into it, some sense of what their business is about and how they'll use the course. So those 500 words at the end are actually the most important. We ignore the rest of the, well, not quite ignore, right, but the rest of the information is less important. So, like, we don't look at the nature of a person's disability, for example. That's only recorded so that we know when we go to disability support services, the nature of a disability, of the types of disability that we're working with this year, and how they can best support us. But in terms of, the panel assessing applications, it has zero consideration. So yeah, have a think about that one, Ronan, in terms of the value you get from it. And if you think you get great value, then you're very welcome. If it's just marginal and to somebody else who get more value out of it, you know, you might be better off continuing your journey the way it's currently going.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Ronan.
Thank you.
Any other questions, please? Feel free to type or come online, it's your choice.
Hi, Tom. We have a question that's just come in to me here from Sarah asking, could you give some examples of startups? And just maybe reflect on that a bit.
I am just now, because that's looking through here. Here we go. I got it now. Right. So the idea is generally from last year, right? Just to give people a sense of so disability awareness and training, that would be quite popular. Then there was an artisan bakery in a town in Ireland that they were trying to move away from the mass-produced products and set up a local bakery that was doing specialist breads. Another one was a social enterprise that's been set up, that has been set up, in fact. Then Heart Healthy Food was one around educating people on healthy eating. That won't go further. Yoga therapy, that kind of one is popular. That one was going to go ahead, then their circumstances changed. A music website, this is a person who's a musician, set up their own website, so selling their own music online. That's gone ahead. Podcast production hasn't. Another one has been another social enterprise, and it's for targeted people with neurodiversity, and that one has won a couple of pitching events, and it looks like it's going to do well. Another one we have is and this happened. We were on RTE nationwide earlier this year, and one of the participants from last year's program was on it, with the 2021 program rather, was on it, and he had set up a business, a gym in his home, and basically he was providing tailored fitness programs, strength and conditioning programs for people with disability. So people with disability were going to him, and he was not only providing them with tailored training programs, given the nature of their disability, but also an accessible environment where people could come and easily use the equipment, which isn't always the case. Another person had an idea on finding or converting buildings they had in there. It was a farm, and converting some of the buildings into self-catering apartments. That was looking good, and then that person secured a very good job. So that idea didn't continue. And then there was a medical idea that was very innovative, but I'm not sure it's going to go ahead. And then the final one there is disability and inclusion training. Again, that one tends to be quite popular. Actually, the person who delivered the course last year is Dennis Kennedy. He'll be doing it again this year. And Dennis was on the 2021 program and has set up a business doing disability awareness training for companies. And Dennis is leading the program. So as someone with lived experiences of disability and somebody who's involved in training, he's a very appropriate person to deliver the course. And I sit in the background and administer while he delivers. And so that kind of gives a sense of the different types of ideas that are coming through in the past 12 months. As I say, it's hugely varied and usually comes from a personal interest or hobby that a person might have, and we build on it from there. But in all of those, the majority are around solo self-employed activities. Hope that answers and clarifies for people.
Yeah, no, that's great, John. Thank you. We had another question in the chat there, just asking from Denise if there are any options of courses before this level 6 option.
Nothing tailored. What we have done in the past is run information webinars around starting your own business. And Patrick, what we might do, they are in the Open Doors Initiative website, those series of webinars, and we might go back to those and kind of make people aware of where they can find them.
Yeah, of course. I'll share those now.
Yeah, but in terms of pre-training support, there's nothing available in this country. And I keep going back to this point. There's like the community is very badly served in terms of tailored supports, and all the discussion is around employment. And if you look at the comprehensive employment strategy for people with disabilities, it's all about employment, and self-employment is not part of the discussion, and that's wrong. Like, why shouldn't it be part of the discussion? Patrick has just shared the webinar series there with you, so if anyone's interested in just information sessions that we've done in the past, feel free to go to that link, and we can and you'll find the pre-training sessions there. Thank you, Patrick. Appreciate that. Are there any other questions? Either again coming through the chat room or coming online. What I'll also do here is I'll add in my email address. Applications close this Monday coming, but if anyone's got any follow-up queries that they wish to ask, then you're most welcome to email me at the email address that I've just provided in the chat room, thomas.cooney@tudublin.ie. That's thomas.cooney@tudublin.ie. Any follow-up queries, or if you're representing a network organization, feel free to, people can contact me that way as well. Feel free to share the email address. One of the things that we're also trying to do is we're trying to create awareness about self-employment as a career option. So it's not just about running a course and then saying, thank you very much, good luck, we'll run the next one next year. We spend a lot of time and a lot of energy trying to promote self-employment as a career option to advocacy organizations, to policymakers, to enterprise support agencies. We have a research report coming out later this year around the situation in Ireland regarding self-employment for people with disabilities and what needs to be done. So it's a bigger initiative than simply running a program for 12 weeks. It's about changing thinking. It's about changing the options for the community so that self-employment, is part of the discussion rather than, something that you're discouraged from doing. And instead, been told, why don't you get a job? Look, this is an environment that really supports self-employment for people with disability, and we want to encourage that.
Tom, I'm a little bit Zoom illiterate. I don't see your email.
Sure. So it's thomas.cooney@tudublin.ie.
Thomas. There, I have it. Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hello, Tom. How are you doing?
Gary, you're joking me. This guy
No,
is coming in from the USA.
I just rolled out of bed. I've got my coffee. Good thing my dog woke me up, Tom.
Gary and I have done work together in this area in the past, and Gary is one of the leading entrepreneurship educators in the US, is doing some really great work around the area of inclusive entrepreneurship, and he and I have collaborated in the past. And so Gary, you're most welcome, and wonderful to see you. Can't believe that.
Well, I saw that you were doing this Zoom. I just caught it on your Twitter feed, and I thought I'd come by just to show my support and see if I could be any of assistance.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Gary. You're always great support, and I'll come back to you on that one. Actually, I'm going to definitely come back to you on that one.
Well, I knew what I was saying before I uttered those words.
Folks, just to let you know, right? This is what happens, right? We've got guest speaker already confirmed from Canada, another one from France. So we've got people who want to contribute and want to support what's happening here. Not just people in Ireland, but people like Gary and others from different countries who believe in what we're doing and believe in supporting it and give their time freely to make that happen. Any final questions? I'm quite happy to take any further questions.
If I could jump in.
Thank you very much.
Sorry, Padraig, you go ahead.
I was going to say thank you very much, Tom. I'm from the France Centre in Cork. We're partners with Jan and the team in an inclusive co-working in the first accessible flow. You've probably heard Jan talk about it a little bit, maybe.
You're in Ballincollig, Padraig, is it?
Yeah, out in Ovens,
Yeah.
We see this as the purpose of our facility is to create an opportunity and a space which is purpose designed to provide an opportunity for people with disabilities to be part of a co-working environment, an opportunity to co-work and collaborate with other like-minded people who are working in that environment. And it's been purpose designed, and we're delighted to partner with the Open Doors and AIB actually in that. We've opened it last year on the 25th of March, and we're in the middle, having gone through the first year, we've learned a lot, and we're now rebooting we have good local partners in the local enterprise offices here, Cork City Council, Cork County Council. I'd love to talk to you about it at some stage, Tom, or perhaps you might come down and have a visit. So
well, I'd be going home, Padraig. I'd be going home. So Fermoy is home. So
we know people in Fermoy as well, and it's just that I know that Sean O'Sullivan from the local enterprise office was involved in your initial iteration. So
correct.
I think that was just something very. I've just been keenly interested in it, and I'd love to follow up with you at some stage.
Okay, Padraig, what we'll do is we'll have an online meeting. I'll send you an email after this. We'll have an online meeting, and then on some future occasion, I'm home. I'll call out to visit.
Brilliant.
Yeah,
Bringing together some people who you probably will know, and I think it's just. I have a
fantastic
call at once, so I just want to wish everybody luck and the best of luck if you decide to go on and do it. And Tom, lovely to meet you, to see you in person. So
likewise, Padraig.
Thank you very much. Best of luck to everybody. Thank you. Bye now.
Thanks, Padraig. Thank you. And there was another question coming in there, wasn't there? Before that,
I have a question from Sarah, just asking how many hours per week it is.
Oh, okay. So, all right. So obviously the lecture time is 2 hours, 11 to 1 each Wednesday. But then I would expect that people will probably take another 2 hours, again, during the week in terms of completing their work online on the SimVenture Validate. But obviously, if you're getting really serious about starting your own business, as the weeks go on and we get into financials, there'll probably be a little more work than that, because you need to do more and more research. But at that stage, you're doing it for yourself anyway. You're doing it for your business idea. And at that stage, motivation to put in additional time, isn't a big ask. But our experience has been that it's never been too demanding. It's never been, nobody has ever, complained about, being overworked or anything like that. And on occasion, what happens is people need to step out due to health issues. And because the lectures are recorded, when they are able to step back in, they can go back and watch the recordings and catch up, without any great difficulties. So, yeah, 2 hours for class, 2 hours by yourself, and you're well covered. Any other questions, Jessica, coming to you?
That's the only one I had on chat. Was there someone else that wanted to ask a question over the video?
I was going to ask one quick question, Tom, if
Sure.
that's all right.
Yeah.
What do you think the score is going to be in the Ireland-Canada game?
Oh, I'm feeling it's going to be 2-0 to Canada. I hate saying that, but that would be my thoughts. And it's not looking good, Patrick, in that, like, Canada are such a strong team. But look, if we could get a draw today, then we go into the final group game against Nigeria with some hope. But look, whatever happens, they've done us proud. They've absolutely done us proud.
Well, I'm here as a Canadian saying I can root for both teams, I guess, today.
Yeah.
I also have dual citizenship, so between Ireland and Canada, so we're all winners.
It's a hard
who are you
choice.
rooting for? Who are you rooting for, Nuala?
Ireland.
Look, that's probably a good time to wrap, and we'll go watch the game and shout on our girls, and I'm sure they'll do great. I'm sure they'll do great. And look, folks, as I said, it's been a pleasure meeting with you. If you've got any queries, please feel free to email me. This is a wonderful initiative. It's been hugely successful, and yeah, if you feel free to join us, or feel free to apply. We'll then make the decision on who will join us. So thank you very much for your time. To Patrick and Jessica, thank you so much for organizing all of this, and for getting people together, and for the the technical side of things. We appreciate everything that you do. Thank you.
Absolute pleasure, Tom. Thanks so much, and thank you everybody for today. Look, if there's anything that comes to mind after the session, feel free to link in with us by email, and we'll be happy to help the recording, and then all the information shared will go out in an email to everybody as well afterwards. So have a great rest of the evening. Enjoy the football if you're going to watch it, and come on, you girls in green.
Great.